But speaking of the biases and how you're looking at things, the biases that would come in trying to make a top 5 list. Somebody asked, I think this is an interesting discussion, which we'll try to navigate without being super, ignorant sounding. But do you think your criteria will ever develop to be less biased towards narrative / towards the development? Will you ever have a painting in the same category as an anime?
No.
Yeah, pretty much, but no.
I mean, I have some paintings on par with bad anime.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything's possible, of course, but I just can't really see it because my values or criteria or taste or whatever you want to call it is so founded in lasting impact. Yeah. So I don't see why time passing would make my criteria change. And as
your criteria is almost defined to be resistant to that.
Yeah, the changes that have happened have been me shoving my head further into my own ass of my own criteria. Yeah. I've only become more and more committed to how I look at things. Yeah. Because as things I liked for other reasons are forgotten, I don't care about them.
I don't even know how much I want to call it bias, because it's just your perspective and what you value in art.
Which, is a bias, but I feel like bias has a negative connotation.
I don't think bias is the right word to use for that.
Yeah. If everyone has a taste and, things they like. Everyone's biased. There's no unbiased view to this.
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a more objective view to include the technical craftsmanship of the work as a foundational aspect of its value, which is effectively what you have to do with paintings. Because a painting physically cannot express the level of depth and exploration of themes and ideas and earned development of impact on a person in terms of what's said within the work itself.
Yeah.
That Berserk can. And Berserk is the example that I like to use in this comparison, because Berserk, even talking to people who do paint, who are really talented artists, any of them will tell you that any single panel of Berserk could be hung in a museum, because it is with that level of detail. But you can analyze a single Berserk panel out of context and have that be something more analogous to an individual painting. Of course, paintings also have context that's important, historical context, what's being put into the art, the like. But I think it would be more of an apt comparison to align one panel of Berserk, or let's say a spread of Berserk, we'll say, to a painting, masterpiece painting at that, than the entirety of Berserk versus a painting, which I find a little insulting personally.
Yeah, that's fair.
To boil down the entirety of this expansive, personal, significant story filled with thousands of depictions of gorgeous landscapes, technical craftsmanship, but also human, real characters going through legitimate, painful, deep experiences that have touched people in really significant ways, moved them and changed them to be better, and say that I'm ignorant for thinking that that's better than paintings because I don't understand the technical craftsmanship. I think that's a little insulting myself. I resent that idea. If what you value in art is just purely a manner of technical craftsmanship and the beauty that it evokes to you in an immediate sense, fair enough. Yeah. You are more than in your right to feel that way. But I don't think that I'm lacking in any way for not feeling that way.
I agree. And now Mark's the nice one.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, you can feel that way.
Yeah.
If you do feel that way, you might want to just skip a minute, because I'm just gonna be a dick.
Okay.
I just thought of this idea. Yeah. Dickishness starting now.
Yeah.
I just thought of this.
Now
idea.
It's the dick podcast.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I just thought of this idea now, and I haven't really thought about it before.
Okay.
But I feel like the value of technical elements for technical elements' sake is born in a sense of gatekeeping amongst the academic community to ensure that they have a job.
Okay. Okay.
With the narrative
Right.
being, you can't talk about art in a critical sense or share your opinions on art with any sort of legitimacy unless you understand all these things, which you have to go learn from someone who already understands them to get them and have validation that you know them. So you have to go to school and learn from someone who's making money off of you to learn these things so they can exclude everyone else from the discussion.
Yeah, that's actually a noted thing in terms of academia. This sort of cyclical bias of creating like schools of academia.
Yeah.
Schools, not in terms of universities, but in terms of schools of thought, where you are propping up a study that can only lead to the end goal of being a researcher or a teacher within that field, and then you are proliferating the extension of that.
Yeah.
Because that's really all you could do. And then here it would just be artist as a third derivative of it.
Yeah, and essentially, if you don't try to push this narrative that you have to know about the technicals to talk about art in any meaningful way, then people who aren't doing that and are talking about something else, like us, or even people who are just talking about what they find entertaining, are a major threat.
Yeah.
To, like, what you're doing.
That's fair.
Because if someone really likes us,
Yeah.
right, and they go to, like, some sort of art school to, like, learn about criticism because they like what we do and they want to do that and pursue it in a more professional lens, they're not going to like what the professors are, like, talking about because it's nonsense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if they go and start something and talk about something that's much different and people like more, then what's the point of these people?
Yeah.
And, like, what they're doing? And I guess I shouldn't say what's the point of these people, because there are people out there who just legitimately care about these things, and I don't want to diminish that. But I almost feel like the demand for it and the legitimacy of it, I shouldn't say legitimacy of it, the demand for it has been propped up.
It's artificial. It's artificial demand to some extent, for sure.
And I almost feel like the internet, in a way, has started the process of bringing it back into what it should be.
Yeah.
And now, back to our first video topic since we came back, the appeal of the video essay and long-form casual discussion. I feel like that is what it is.
It's not rooted in rigid academia, and it's more truthful and honest.
Yeah.
Truthful and honest, same word. But
because when I listen to a video essay, if they start talking about the technicals, I turn it off. I don't care.
Fair.
I've watched like a couple that talk about
Yeah.
it, but only really when they connect it to something greater.
Yeah.
Because that's all I care about.
I like videos that will connect the technical elements of
Yeah.
the story into something more significant than the technicals.
For sure,
But
because I'm not
just
as
the
educated
technical.
on that, and I'd love to learn,
Yeah.
and now it builds the things I care about. But
Yeah.
if you're talking about the technical aspect,
Yeah.
I turn your video off.
Sure.
'Cause I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
And yeah, but there's plenty of videos that I love that don't talk about that at all.
Fair.
Yeah.
Entirely
Hell
reasonable.
yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
I think that went much longer than we were planning on for that question.
Yeah, probably.
Do you have anything to add on that question?
No, I think I've already said my piece.
All
I
right.
said my piece, you said yours.
Yeah.
I think that our opinions on each other's are just, I agree. And then,
I agree.
and then that's probably it.
Why do you think Animanga consistently hits highs that are rare in other mediums and cultures?
I think there's a series of points here.
Yeah, I don't...
I think that cultural values is definitely a part of it. I think that the economics in Japan, which I think you educated me on.
I mentioned
is
this.
a
Like,
part
I
of
don't have, like, defined sources. My sources are, like, a Reddit comment I read a long time ago.
Okay, sure.
So, like, if someone wants to contest this and provide
Yeah.
better sources, like, please do.
Yeah.
But from my understanding of it, in terms of TV at least, and anime gets most of their money from Blu-ray sales and physical media versus Western TV getting most of their money from people watching. So there's
Ad revenue.
Yeah, ad revenue. So
Staying on the air. is the goal.
So exactly. The goal for Western TV is to stay on the air as long as possible. So for a long time, I feel like Western TV was dominated by sitcoms and soap operas, where I haven't watched a ton of soap operas, I can't lie, but from my understanding, they just sort of...
They create artificial drama in a cycle.
Exactly, in a cycle being the big part where they're not really building to a final resolution, which is something that we value so much more, and then sitcoms that reset every episode so they can keep going as long as the formula stays consistently funny, and of course it will because you're only watching it every week for 20 minutes. Versus selling physical media, of course we have the issue where people are buying physical things because of their waifus, but other than that, people are going to buy the physical media of things that they found impactful and meaningful to them because they like it a lot, and it's a reason to spend a lot of money on something because like Blu-rays are expensive.
And even in the more superficial level of that, and I don't even know if I want to call it more superficial, it can just be people want to buy figurines, iconography, shirts, whatever, featuring characters that they're attached to.
Yeah.
And if the goal is character attachment, that usually leads to greater ends than just simply staying on the air.
See, I was about to say, like, yeah, I wouldn't buy a George Costanza figure, but I absolutely would. That'd be hysterical. Yeah, but
that's fair. Well, you would buy it ironically.
Yeah.
Not out of genuine affection for the... Hell yeah. Buy it ironically.
Exactly.
Yeah. You got to make an ironic purchase.
Exactly. But okay, so I guess that
does happen.
But that's the ceiling for a sitcom is trying.
Yeah.
They don't sell sitcom figures.
Yeah.
I wish they did because I'd buy a George Costanza figure.
Yeah.
That'd be hysterical. Yeah. So I guess that's the main reason I think of, at least, for those two things. Oh, in terms of manga, actually, up front, I haven't read very many American comics at all. But from my understanding of how the medium tends to work, at least in what is very popular, you have sort of amorphous timelines that continue on and have like soft resets a lot, and you have runs with one author where they pick up a character that already exists and they bring them through this story they've come up with for a short time and then they leave, versus manga where it tends to be one author with their vision and they bring the story from start to finish, which I think is better for at least what we care about. And that kind of ties into the previous point about the single creative vision versus a team of writers.
That's what I was thinking when you were talking.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and I was also going to say it seems to just be a distinction of depth versus breadth in general. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just a depth versus breadth thing.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because...
It makes sense economically. It makes sense in terms of cultural values. It just makes sense to everything.
Let me shit on Mad Men before I even finished it. Mad Men's so long... And
Mad Men does not need to be as long.
Doesn't need to be as long. He's finished it.
Yes,
so
it doesn't need to be as long.
It doesn't need to be as long. Versus...
Mad Men's great.
Most anime, other than your, like, really long-running shonens and stuff, are pretty short.
Yeah.
Like, there's a conversation, and I'm pretty sure I know where you stand, but I've seen the conversation in our chat that has some people we tend to agree with a bit more of Utena versus Mad Men.
Utena? Everybody's Team Utena in that chat.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay. I've seen debate at least.
Oh, okay.
But even being Team Utena is 39 20-minute episodes.
Yeah.
Mad Men is
75 45-minute episodes.
Yeah. And there's definitely a benefit to going longer because you have more space to explore what you're doing. But if the goal is to remain on air, you're not necessarily going to do that because you didn't intend for... Like, the story you wanted to tell doesn't have to be that long, so you're just kind of filling space, and it's like... Yeah.
You're spinning your wheels.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I will keep going.
Oh, I'm done with the
question.